The biggest myth about the Houston Texans, Dalton Schultz speaks. How big of a factor can he be? Are people sleeping on Dalton Schultz? Plus, a Texans veteran with a lot to prove is impressed with one of the newcomers.
Yeah. Yeah. It's the Locker Room on YouTube. You know what it is. Let's get it. Hey. Locker Room. Yeah, we in the locker room. Texas talk. Yeah, you know what we about to do. Localize every angle's what we really do. We the source. We the pulse of the
OTAs continue. A lot of chatter with the Houston Texans. A lot of chatter around the NFL. We'll hear from a couple members of the Houston Texans as the offseason continues. It is the Locker Room, number one source for Texans digital content. I'm Landry Locker. You can hear me Monday through Friday, 10 to 2 Central, Sports Radio 610, and the Odyssey app. We'll hear from Dalton Schultz in a second. We'll also hear from Jalen Petri, who had a funny reaction to one of the rookies that I think is one of the more intriguing players on the roster, really, that we don't know a ton about, we haven't seen. And there is a lot of potential there. Be sure to subscribe, like, right along. Stuff is intensifying. And I just kind of want to start hearing from Dalton Schultz. Texans last year, Dalton Schultz, I don't think he was an initial part of the plans. They ended up kind of adjusting, getting Dalton Schultz at a bargain. They then brought him back this year, not much of a tight end market. And CJ Stroud thinks the world of him. It seems like the locker room thinks the world of him. Let's hear what Dalton Schultz had to say when he met with the media for the first time heading into the 2024 season.
That was like, I felt it from when I got here. I mean, I talked to you guys about it. Like, here just felt right. And then obviously, we had all that success last year. That's where I wanted to be, dude. And I wanted to be a part of something to turn the team around and build something special to the city of Houston. So, yeah, it was where I wanted to be.
What is your first impression of the rookie Slowik?
I like him. He's a hardworking kid. He's very, eager to learn. I usually get to the meetings pretty early, but he beat me a couple times. But yeah, he's a good kid. I think he made some catches out there today that were nice. Just I'm excited to have kind of a young guy that's super, excited to just learn football. Cause he told me that. He's like, listen, I'm early playing this position. He told me, he's like, I'm literally just learning from you. So I'm excited for him.
About what the Texans have done in offense and adding players like Stephon,
She was crazy.
bringing back you and Noah, adding Joe Mixon. What do you think about that?
Yeah, it's fun. It's great to have, a fully loaded clip, metaphorically speaking. Right. But at the same time, we all understand that, it doesn't matter how much talent you have if you can't go out there and execute and do what's, needed of you. We know we're not surprising anybody this year. You know what I mean? People know CJ is a good quarterback. People know Nico's a good receiver. Joe Mixon out of the backfield. Like, nobody's coming into the game thinking like, all right, it's just the Texans, we got this. So we understand that, the work that we're putting in now is going to be crucial to our success later in the year.
That's an interesting point that you bring up. How do you think that changes things when you're no longer surprised? Because the Texans were surprised last year. When you're no longer surprised.
To y'all. To y'all, yeah, it was a surprise.
Just given what they did in 2022.
Yeah, I feel you.
Yeah.
And again, that's just another layer on things. Like, I think I answered your question already. Like, that's just, you're going to get everybody's best shot. You know what I mean? With the primetime games, it's like, now spotlight's on you. What are you going to do with it? Are you going to, everybody always says you sink to the level of your training. And that's, what I wholeheartedly believe. So I think again, going back to the work that we're doing now, it's all to build on situations like those.
I know you're probably not going to give too much insight, but what are some of the changes and stuff you've been seeing in Bobby Slowik, and what has it been like just to have an opportunity to work with him for you too?
The biggest changes, honestly, have just been making things easier for us. So I think already, like, cutting some verbiage out, creating new terms to, make calls less wordy. For us, that's just it's kind of like, you know, a few things to pick up on and learn. But at the end of the day, it's going to help us kind of get in and out faster, which is what we're all about. Operation is everything. So I think at the end of the day, that'll be very helpful for us. So Bobby's already, you know, been hard at work on trying to figure out what we can improve and build on.
I know that you guys don't get everybody's best shot, obviously the primetime game, but you played in Dallas, and it was kind of like that in a sense where you guys are always on primetime. You guys were always kind of, you know, the talk of the town. Now, the Texans are kind of in that bubble. How much does that experience from what you dealt with in Dallas helped?
Like this question by DJ B Enemy. Shout out to my boy DJ B.
It's going to help you with these guys who Matt and I have always been on the spot. Obviously, CJ was at Ohio State, but a lot of guys might not have been in that spotlight before. How much will your experience with the Dallas Cowboys help you now be able to help these guys prepare for those moments?
Yeah, I mean, I do have a lot of experience with that, but people overthink it sometimes. You know, people make it bigger than it is.
And I like Schultz.
And that's the biggest thing that I'm trying to, you know, tell guys is like, listen, it's not like you don't got to try harder. You don't have to go harder. Like the details need to be on point because, you know, guys feel like there's more pressure. Man, pressure's not real to me. You know what I mean? Like as long as you're executing in the present moment, like pressure's perceived from outcomes of what you do. So pressure is a lost focus in the moment, you know what I mean? And so I think for guys, that's, you know, they say when the lights get bright, you know, oh, the lights are too bright. No, you just lost focus in the moment. And I think it's important, especially now when we're in 90-degree heat, 90% humidity out there, y'all were out there, to just lock in on those things. Cause you get going 4 or 5 reps in a row, you'll start to feel it and you'll start to feel yourself lose focus. And so, stuff like that is the biggest thing in the off season that you can kind of hone in on.
When you get the schedule to the primetime point, you see all those primetime games. What's your thought on 3 games in 11 days, and just are you comfortable with that?
I mean, dude, it's life in the NFL now. You know what I mean? Like it's just we can't control.
I'm gonna get to this in a second. 3 games in 11 days. We'll get to that in a second. Hold that thought. I like where Dalton is starting here, but just hold that thought.
That, you know, it's those things are difficult if you don't take care of your body and let these things creep up on you. But if you're a professional, just handle your business. You know, we got to go out and win 3 games. You know, however long that discrepancy between games is.
Talking to D'Amico, he mentioned with you coming back again, he raved about you as a leader. How much do you embrace that? And then when you're coming over from Dallas to Houston last year, what did that process look like as far as establishing yourself to becoming that leader in the locker room?
Yeah, I mean, it's something that's kind of I've had to, I'd say, work on. I haven't been the most vocal guy throughout my career, but as I've kind of gotten older and learned from guys that were ahead of me, I've kind of gotten more comfortable, in these environments, being more vocal and, trying to help guys out and, lead when, something needs to be said. And that's just something that I've had to work at. You have success in parts of your career and, guys kind of look at you naturally for that. And I've just kind of helped I try to focus on helping the guys around me in those situations. And so, but that's a good question because I've had to specifically work on that because I'm kind of more of an introverted guy. So.
Dalton, when you look back at CJ's rookie year when he was coming in, he kind of mentioned at the start of mini camp that he feels more relaxed because he's not just going through the process of always having to be in the mindset of football. Have you noticed a trend in him to where he does feel maybe a bit more comfortable, a bit more relaxed, and also taking that next step forward? For sure.
Going back to the leader question, I think CJ's done a great job of that, already. Just with, little things such as commanding the huddle. He gets in the huddle. It's, he said something to the guys first play that we stepped out there. He's definitely gotten more comfortable. And he's again, kind of taking that next step of being that verbal guy, that verbal leader that quarterbacks in the league have to be.
Close this arch.
Coach said that he was able to bring Dylan Horton in and speak to you guys before you all started OTAs into the team meetings. I know Dylan's locker was close to yours, and so does it feel good just to see him again, knowing that he had, what he went through?
No doubt. That was something that wasn't, we knew that Dylan had stuff going on, but nobody really went into the intricacies of that. And just finding out like what Dylan was dealing with and how he's able to come back on top. And man, it's great seeing him back in there. He's a young guy last year, but feels like, we lost a part of, that class. And so him being back around is great. It's great for morale. Guys love him. So I'm happy that he's back in the building. Thanks.
All right, there you go. That's Dalton Schultz meeting with the media. And it is going to be interesting. 59 catches last year. And we talk a lot about the wide receivers and who's going to have the most yards and who's going to have to make the most sacrifice. But where does Schultz fit in? CJ Stroud has confidence in throwing to Tank, to Nico, and to Schultz. Where does he fit into this? Does his production go up? There's a lot of playmakers, and there's only one football. I know Clint Sterner thinks that the guy that's going to have to perhaps make the biggest sacrifice is going to be Nico, because a lot of times last year, and again, this is his take and his observation, and he puts a lot into the observation. A lot of times Nico was the first option, whether it was the swing pass where he got the yak, whether it was the play against the Indianapolis Colts. A lot of times he was just kind of the first option. And maybe teams try to take that away. Now, on one hand, that's, one thing, but you do have Stephon Diggs, you do have Tank Dell. And Clint also brought up that Tank Dell, unlike Nico, he's kind of the off-script guy who works magic with CJ whenever he's doing his thing. I think I got someone that wants to be a little bit of a co-host here. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how Schultz produces and what Schultz does do. I want to touch on a question that was asked and something that's getting talked about a lot, and that's the whole talk about 3 games in 10 days or 3 games in 11 days, as if it's something unique or crazy that the Texans are having to do. And it's really kind of annoying because it's not something that's unique. It's tough, but it's not unique. And you just heard Dalton Schultz say, that's life in the NFL. And I think it's 100%. And E. Garcia is throwing this out there. Last year, Las Vegas Raiders played 3 games in an 11-day stretch. They went 1-2 in those games, defeating the Colts, but losing to Kansas City and Denver. And the Broncos. 2022, Raiders played 3 games, 11-day stretch. They went 2-1 in those games, defeating Cowboys, Browns, but losing to the football team. Here's the thing. If you look at Thursday night football, and let's look at the Thursday night football schedule, and I want y'all to tell me if I'm wrong or not on this. Past week 3, if you play week 1 on Sunday, and then you play week 2 on Sunday, and then you play Thursday, that's 3 games in an 11-day stretch, right? So 3 games in 10, yes, it sounds crazy, but look at all these teams that are playing Thursday night football. It's the overwhelming majority, and I don't have all their bye weeks in front of me, but all of these teams past week 3, because you play one Sunday, you play the next Sunday, that's 2 games in 7 days. Then you play on Thursday. That's 3 games in 11 days. There's not only like a handful of teams that are playing on Thursday night. Like, look at this. Look at all these teams. It's the majority of the teams in the league. Again, some of them may have bye weeks in between, but a large chunk of those teams are going to be playing 3 games in 11 days. So this notion that the Texans are doing something that's crazy, it's not true. It's not factually true. The majority of teams in the NFL are going to have to play 3 games in 11 days. You're playing on Thursday night. Past week 2, the chances are that's what's going to happen. The other thing is there keeps being this notion that because you're facing Miami, Kansas City, and Baltimore, that's some sort of tough draw. That's a good draw, especially given the fact that I'll lay out a few things. You have a week 14 bye week. So before you have this hellacious stretch, you have a bye week. Like there's some teams that are going to have this stretch and it's going to be in the middle of their season before they even have a bye week. So you're going to have to go through this. You're getting the bye week before Miami. The opponents were already there. So you have that. Baltimore is also going to be playing 10 games in 10 days. And oh, by the way, they're going to have to be traveling to Houston. You're coming off the bye against Miami. So there's that. Kansas City, you're facing Kansas City week 16. Their bye week is week 6. They play every day of the week. They're going to be, if you want to talk about fatigue, you're going to be coming off a bye week. Then you're going to play the game against Miami, and then you got Kansas City. You're going to have to go to Kansas City. They're not, Texans aren't going to be favored against the Chiefs or anything like that, but you're going to be 2 weeks removed from your bye week. The Chiefs are going to be, who knows when the hell they're going to be playing and how many days and all that. The NFL was crazy to them. You're going to be facing them then. And I get this notion that people think that there should be a bad team sprinkled in this 3-game stretch. For what? Why? What's the point? If you beat the Patriots early on, you beat the Vikings early on, do you want one of these advantages with them? Probably. I mean, for what? Why? You're supposed to beat them anytime. Wouldn't you rather have this advantage of the team having to come see you? If it's a good team like Baltimore, wouldn't you rather possess some sort of advantage over Baltimore? Wouldn't you rather possess the advantage over Miami? Would you want to come off of the bye week and face the Patriots? I just don't get it. You win the games early on that you're supposed to win. Who gives a damn if it's in December or not? There's a good chance that you can lose to either Baltimore, Miami, or Kansas City early or late. You just win when you're supposed to win. You avoid the Atlanta game last year. You avoid the Carolina game. But if you're going to have these advantages, then you want them in that situation. But 3 games, 11 days, it's not a unique thing at all. At all. And Brandon brings up a good point. Dolphins are a bad team in that stretch. They went 1-7 versus teams over 500 last year. They didn't beat a team over 500, I want to say, for like a few years. There was like a crazy stat about that. But you have it laid out perfectly with those 3 teams. It's not a tough stretch. It's a tough stretch, but you already knew you were playing those teams. You get the advantage. And this whole 3 games in 11, most teams are doing that. That's just kind of where it's at. So I don't understand when people say stuff like that, like it's unique. Doesn't make any sense. Nathan D says, I'm just happy we have so many primetime games when we barely got one last year. Yeah, you went to the last minute and you got the one against the Colts. Senor Larry says, Baby Locker, yes. She's a wild child, to say the very least. Plus, J.J. Watt comes back in week 11. Is J.J. Watt coming back in week 11? Yay or nay? Yay or nay? Hi. Let's hear from Jalen Petri. Jalen Petri was asked about Kalen Bullock, and this is what he had to say about the rookie out of USC. Here's Petri on Bullock, and I think this reaction says a lot just about the physical stature of the USC safety.
Oh man, he's a dog. Like when I first seen him, I'm like, bro, it's tall. And then no, for real. He like for real. I'm like, bro, it's tall, like taller, like he looked like a receiver. But just being in a room with him, you could tell how locked in he is. Like he's answering the questions sometimes before the veterans. So, it's good to see a guy that come in and, be confident in himself and get to work because, he definitely can help this team.
All right, there you go. That's Jalen Petri meeting with the media. Secondary concerns. Do the Texans have secondary concerns? You talk about all the things you may or may not feel good about or the things that you may feel bad about. And obviously when training camp goes down, we'll get a better grasp of, what looks good, what looks bad. The secondary. And again, you're not going to be able to fix all your holes. But if you're looking for something that could go wrong on this Texans team, I think on the edge, you're going to be elite. I think you're going to be better on the defensive line than people give credit for. I know Miguel asked, who do I think the starting defensive tackles are going to be? I think there's going to be a big, heavy rotation. And I actually think it's going to be better than a lot of people think. I think they're going to be elite on the edge. I think especially on 3rd and long, they're going to be elite with what they're going to be able to do with Autry and Will and Daniil Hunter. I think they're going to be elite. On offense, perhaps the best wide receiver core in the NFL. You have potentially an elite quarterback. You have an elite left tackle. Don't know what Titus Howard is. The offensive line, still a few question marks. Mixon, I think you upgraded at starting running back. Linebacker, maybe not a lot of depth. The secondary is somewhat concerning because you have a guy in Jimmy Ward, who we all love. We love Jimmy Ward, friend of the show, but he couldn't stay healthy. And you have Jalen Petri, who we just heard from, who had a really bad year, got benched at one point. And as much as we like Kalen Bullock might be one of those guys who's more situational on pass downs. Some people say he's perhaps a little bit too thin. And then you have the cornerback 2 situation where you have 2 guys that are on their 3rd teams, top 10 picks. You don't know how they're going to perform. And your best guy, who's elite, has trouble staying healthy. So if we're looking at potential concerns, I would say secondary concerns are up there. I think RB2, if Dameon Pierce isn't a quality RB2, I think that's a problem. I posed this question today. I know talk about Joe Mixon being a bell cow. You don't want to ask Joe Mixon to do too much. And even if you have a bell cow, you need multiple running backs that can make plays. So the Dameon Pierce thing is interesting. But as far as potential areas of concern, the secondary is something to keep an eye on. I want to know what Steven Nelson has against D'Amico Ryans that made him call him milk dud. Steven Nelson's a loon. Let's just be serious. The guy's a loon. His sense of self is low. Great contributor on the squad last year, but the guy's a loon. And I also think that, you watch him on his podcast, he's smacking gum into the mic and he's drinking. I don't know what's up with Steven Nelson. When we interviewed him the first time and he took exception to being called an underdog, despite the fact he'd said it 100 times, that's when I kind of knew there was a little bit much. But I also wonder if that personality helps him be the player that he's been. Maybe you have to be a little bit loony to be out there guarding wide receiver. So I could see that. H-Town TD 2000, much love. Appreciate you. Glad to see you back in the locker room with the power on, AC on, and you and the family comfortable at home again. Much love, brother. Much love to you, my friend. It sucks not having power. I will say that. I know some people have it worse, but yeah, it sucks. So the Texans going to wear reds for Christmas. You the man, Mr. Locker. Appreciate you. H-Town's Ultimate. I don't know. I know they're going to wear the black ones. I know they already announced when they're going to do that. I don't know that they're going to wear the reds. I don't know that they're going to wear an alternate against the Titans because I don't know that they think that they're worthy of it. Just a little bit of smack talk. I think we might see normal uniforms against the Titans, but who knows? Steven Nelson is joining CT ESPN. He ain't entertaining enough to be on that. CT ESPN, say what you want about it. It's entertaining. Steven Nelson's not entertaining. Have you watched that podcast? It is awful. If any secondaries have an injury, they would have a matchup a CB4 against either Nico, Dell, or Diggs. Yeah, the Texans wide receiver core is going to be a problem no matter what, even against healthy secondaries. Killa X God, what's this Diggs overrated BS I'm hearing, Landry? What you think? I don't know what you're talking about, to be honest with you. I have no clue what you mean. Are people saying that Diggs is overrated? You traded back 19 spots to get him. I mean, that's essentially what you did. It's not like you did anything crazy. You traded back 19 spots. Opinion on CB2, I think it's going to be a CUDA. And I think the front seven, specifically the pass rush, can make those guys better. But if I had to bet, you're asking me, I would say that it's going to be a CUDA. And then I would say that Lassiter's your inside guy. And there's no shame in drafting an inside guy in the second round. I think there's kind of a myth that, oh, man, he's got to be a CB2 right away. But nah. Welcome. Thanks for discussing the Texans. It's Jacob. It's a welcome distraction. RIP to my dad, a lifelong Cowboys fan who still took me to Texans game. Cancer sucks, but God is good, man. Sorry about your loss. I know it seems like y'all kind of bonded over football, which I can very much relate to, and I think that's one of the beauties of it is, it gives you something to look forward to. It gives you something to bond over. When my parents got divorced, that was kind of my bond with my dad. Pick me up on weekends, go to games, usually in Austin, but wherever. So, man, much love to you, man. The good ones, they don't go away. They just hold down the fort before you get up there. So, much love to you and your pops. And I'm sure y'all watched some crappy ass football with the Texans, although I'm sure there was some good. But much love, Jacob. Blue Boy 9, I hate to see Nelson take shots at D'Amico, but I do understand his frustration. He's been the best corner on the team the past 2 seasons and hadn't been treated like it. Certainly not elite, though. I don't think he was better than Stingley last year, like as a whole. I think he held it down early on, and I think he did a good job holding it down when Stingley went down. But Derek Stingley was the AFC player of the month. So I wouldn't say that Steven Nelson was better than Derek Stingley last year. I would say he was more available, although he kind of wore down and you could kind of see it at the end. But I think that's a little bit of a stretch. As far as not being treated like it, what does that mean? I mean, he went on the market. The Texans were the only team to offer him a 2-year deal. They gave him the 2-year deal. He signed it. He accepted it. He came through. And then he threw his hissy fit and he got paid and he came out there and acted professionally. So I would disagree with him being the best corner last year. And I would strongly disagree that he got mistreated by the Texans organization. I think that is wrong, to be honest with you. I don't believe that at all. Bleacher Report thinks Dig is overrated. I obviously don't know what they mean. See, this is something I'm not coming down on you, sir. This kind of bothers me as someone who works at Sports Radio 610 is sometimes I'll hear people say, well, Sports Radio 610 said, or Sports Radio 610 thinks this. Here's the thing. None of these mofos I work with want to inherit my take, and I don't want to inherit their take. I promise you that. And we never all think the same thing. So Bleacher Report, I'm sure that's like an individual person that thinks this. I don't know that they all think that. Quite frankly, I didn't even know Bleacher Report was still a thing. It's probably just one dude freelancing that said this. So I don't know that Bleacher Report thinks that. Can you see us starting 0-2? The Texans hype is getting a little scary. Yeah, I could see them starting 0-2. I mean, would I bet against it? No, but you're facing a Indianapolis team that I think last I checked, the line is 1. Indianapolis is going to be at home. Jonathan Taylor is going to be healthy. Shane Steichen, one of the best offensive minds, is going to have however long to prepare for you. They got better at the receiver position with Mitchell. Taylor's healthy. They've added some pieces around. Yeah, I could easily see that. It's a 1-point line. And then you got Chicago. And I think Chicago is going to be a good football team too. That's the game I'm most looking forward to is Sunday Night Football against the Bears' first home game. Screw all the other stuff. I'm excited for that. And that's gonna be sick. You go out to the game, you got the tailgate, you got a 7 p.m. game, you can watch the games before, and sign me the hell up for that. That's gonna be fun. Sold out, Caleb Williams, little star power with the Bears. But yeah, I could easily see him starting out 0-2. It's not gonna be easy. I could see him starting out 2-0. But yeah, much love to Jacob. Someone else said that. If Nelson was Candy, would he be payday? Hell no, because he's not getting paid. If Nelson was Candy, he would probably be like Dots or something like that. What's the wackest candy? Dots, licorice, maybe like some licorice jelly beans. I don't know. Nelson's talent doesn't allow him to trash. Yeah, I mean, and that's just out of line. For him. Candy corn. Damn, that's always a polarizing topic around Halloween. Black licorice or candy corn. See, you know what? That's why you're my girl. I must Pandaline. I was gonna say black licorice, but I don't think honky like me can say that. So yeah, you say the black licorice. I was just gonna say it because I think it's the nastiest, but if I say black licorice, yeah, no. So yeah, I agree. Black licorice. I must Pandaline got me on that. He'd be Take 5 because he needs a moment. I don't even know what Take 5 is. What is Take 5 candy? Never heard of that. Not even a little bit. Nelson going after D'Amico, the most popular person in Houston sports other than Altuve, is crazy. Glad you're back with the family. What's up, Raffy? Shout out to Kraft Pita, baby. John Mechie. I hope you're still going to have John Mechie as a customer, my friend. He's a big fan. So have to ball out. Shout out. If y'all haven't been to Kraft Pita, man, that's some clean, good eating. Jason Roberts. Will the Bears actually live up to the hype? They have really great players, but even great players can win in a bad front office. I think they have good coaches. I think Eberflus is a good coach. I think Caleb's going to be good. Look, could the Bears finish strong last year? I think they're going to be good. I think Green Bay is going to be good. I think Minnesota will find their groove. I actually think the Lions are going to be the more disappointing team this year. I just think there's a lot of hype. I'm not a Goff guy. I'm shocked that they made him one of the highest paid QBs in the league. I know there's people at the station that disagree with me. I'm not big on that. But I think the Bears, I think Eberflus is a good coach, actually. I like him a lot. What's more likely, 2-0 or 0-2? Can I say 1-1? God. I mean, I would say it's a coin toss. I know that's kind of gutless, sitting on the fence crap, but I would say it's kind of a coin toss. We'll see how they come out against the Colts. It's going to be an electric atmosphere. Glad we got Diggs over Keenan Allen. Diggs has more consistent production and less injuries. That's true, but Allen is coming off a career season. Let's be honest about that. He has before that had trouble staying healthy, and I'm sure if you're one of those people who get to the 4th round in fantasy and you're like, "Oh, I'm going to take Keenan Allen," I'm sure there's a chance that there's been a year or so where you've been pissed off at Keenan Allen, but hell, if you took him last year, you were very, very satisfied. He is coming off one of the best years of his career. And let's be honest, the Texans tried to trade for him first. So we will see how that goes. Are you making a record prediction? Yeah, I'll do that. I'll do that when camp comes around. I'll do that when camp comes around. For sure. Can Jawar Jordan beat out Damian for – man, I don't know. I don't know what Jawar Jordan is. I mean, they didn't draft Jawar Jordan because they loved him. Like, you saw all the running backs that were going off the board, Jalen Wright, Jonathan Brooks, like all these guys. Hell, San Francisco traded up for the guy that started ahead of him. So I don't know what Jawar Jordan is going to be. He needs to get a handshake with CJ Stroud before I even entertain the possibility of him getting on the depth chart. Which position group do you think is going to be trimmed down to 6? I think it's cornerback, wide receiver has to be 7, right? 7's a lot. The cornerback thing's interesting because I know he doesn't like to do it, but Jimmy Ward has played nickel at an elite level. So if you're talking about versatility and you're talking about trying to make the roster more flexible, they won't make him do it full time because that's kind of a running joke and a running thing with D'Amico and Jimmy Ward. But if you're looking at like the back end of the roster and you're having to make a decision, do we cut this corner? Do we bring this corner in? And let's say he's kind of a nickel. I do think that Jimmy Ward's experience there would at least, make that more of a flexible option at corner. Looking forward to seeing media types throw Diggs contract talks over team success this year. I don't even know if Diggs is going to have contract talks. I don't know if Diggs is a long-term option here. Look, it was a three-way trade, and you essentially traded back 19 spots for him. He's in his 30s. Nico's probably going to be a part of things for a long time. Tank Dell, you have him under contract 2 more years. I don't even know if you already did him a favor. You made him a free agent after the season, gave him a little bit of a raise. I don't think Diggs' contract talks are going to be a thing at all. I don't even think it's going to come up, to be honest. He's going to have to go out there, prove himself, and figure some stuff out. So I don't think that that's going to be a thing at all, to be honest with you. I appreciate the questions coming through. This has kind of turned into a little bit of a Q&A after briefly talking about just the silliness of the 3 games in 11 days, hearing from Schultz, hearing from Jalen Petri. I definitely think Jordan will step up. Okay. That would be great. What is stepping up for him? Making the team? I don't have any expectations for the young man. I really don't. I think their delay in drafting a back tells me they have faith at the number 2. Pierce came in, OTA's in shape, lighter looking for 100%. I mean, I agree with you. For better or worse, D'Amico Ryans loves effing Dameon Pierce. He's a guy that is easy to love. Dameon Pierce is always going to say the right things. He's always in the right mindset. He works his ass off. He is the life of the locker room. He's the life of the party. He's hard-nosed. He plays hard. He accepts whatever role you throw his way. He doesn't mope around. His maturity level is at an extremely high level. He's easy to like. But so I do agree with you there that they do, or at least D'Amico really, really does love Dameon Pierce. 100%. You are 100% right about that. And, I do think that they wanted probably to add another back even with that in mind. But, yeah, they definitely have some confidence in Dameon Pierce. I would rather have Collins over Diggs. Yeah, I think, you look at the age, you look at the chemistry. I do want to see Nico stay on the field again for an entire season. Not even necessarily duplicate the production because, as we've talked about, there's a lot more options, and they're probably going to try to run the ball a little bit more too. But, only missed a couple games last year. If you include the Jets game, I think Nico is more likely a part of the long-term plans than Diggs. If Mixon and Pierce is a 1-2 punch, like Coach says, how hard of a punch will the second punch be? I don't know. Is it a jab? Is it an uppercut? Is it a body shot? Don't know. Since they have the Hall of Fame game, does training camp start earlier this year? Yes, it does. I think it's going to probably start the 21st. Goodness gracious. What are you doing? You are nuts. What is wrong with you? My gosh. You are rowdy. Diggs can't be the long-term option. Nico's in the final year. Noah, 1-year deal. Sims. CJ has to be paid. Woods, too. The only receiver that they have under control is going to be Tank Dell. So, yeah, that's where you're at. I could see Nico getting 110 targets and Diggs getting 100 as well. Okay, that's a hell of a lot of targets. You believe that? You believe that? You can be up all night on you. Why would Jordan not make the team, Landry? You funny fam. I mean, it's a given. It's a given that a guy in the 6th round makes the squad. I mean, I'm talking more so about being active. Well, I mean, they've cut guys that were day 3 picks before on day 1. I mean, if let's say that they need to add a running back, like if they don't feel good about Pierce. I mean, I'm talking more so about being active. I mean, I don't know that he's going to be wearing uniform on game day every time. So we'll see how it goes. And she's getting in the Kobe Bryant basketball now in the sweatband, getting a little crazy now. Appreciate everyone for coming through. Appreciate all the questions. Again, 3 games in 11 days, not that big of a deal. Dalton Schultz, are we sleeping on him? Should his production be up more? And Jalen Petri, he seems to like Kalen Bullock. Is the secondary as a whole a little bit of a concern? Be sure to subscribe, like, right along. Appreciate everyone for coming through. It is a locker room. Football season is intensifying. We're going to get some media availability soon, although they're starting to act kind of Patriot-like with the amount of access they have. But either way, when it comes to this Texan stuff, we're all in it together. Thank you so much for coming through, and I'll talk to you 10 a.m. Sports Radio 610, Odyssey app, YouTube, Twitch, all that type of stuff. Appreciate everyone for coming through.
Yeah. Yeah. It's the locker room on YouTube. You know what it is. Let's get it. Hey. Locker room. Yeah, we in the locker room. Texas talk. Yeah, you know what we about to do. Localize every angle's what we really do. We the source. We the pulse of the city too. Landlocked. Got the game in the headlock. Localize every time. Can't stop, won't stop. Yeah, we top 2 and we not 2. Plugged in daily digital on YouTube.